Hi everybody, it's Mo from Natureal Muma, and today I'm going to be talking about room temperature method of soap making. Now, one of my subscribers had asked for me to show this method, and so I'm just going to get right into it. It's very similar to the cold process method. The only difference is that you do not have to worry about temperatures when you're doing this method. So it can be real useful to those who do not want to work with thermometers or don't want to have to heat up the oil, etc. So I took the liberty of making sure that I did everything first ahead of time so that we can, for time saving purposes, get right to the room temperature method. So what you will need is your lye water mix. You will need your hard oils and your butters and your fats. You will also need your liquid oils. You'll need your essential oils, and you'll also need your colorants. So let's get right into it in a few minutes. But I just want to take time to talk about something about this method. This method is actually easier. You don't have to go through the methods of heating up the oil and all of that. So most people like to use this method instead of the regular cold process method. Just wanted to mention that. The second thing is with the room temperature method, you want to make sure that you follow these steps without variation, because you have to do it a little different than you would with the cold process method. So the room temperature method, although it's easier for not having to heat up your oils and not having to worry about temperatures before you mix your oils with your lye water, this method has a different step-by-step process. So you cannot do the same step-by-step process that you would with a cold process method. And I'll let you know when you can continue like you would with the cold process method. So let's get right into it. So I have a spatula here. Now I measured everything out. So if you can see in here, we have the hard oils, the coconut oil, and I put cocoa butter in this as well. So what I'm going to do is pause the video here so that I can have a better angle so that you guys can see exactly what's happening in this pot that I'll be working with. Okay, so now what we're going to do, you can see in the pot that I'm working with, and what I am going to do now is use this spatula to kind of pour in the lye water mix. So as not to create bubbles, I'm going to pour the lye water mix directly onto this spatula. Now again, we did not test the temperature of this before we put it in. And the reason being that this is the room temperature method, so we don't need to test it. But whenever I mix my lye water, it's usually somewhere around 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and now we're just going to mix this in. Because the lye water is so high in temperature, it will melt the hard oils and the butters down. Now this can take anywhere from, depending on how hard your hard oil and your butters are, it can take anywhere from like 2 to 5 minutes, and it just depends on the temperature of the lye water mix. So I'm going to continue mixing this, and I will come back once everything is all melted out. Okay, so everything, not everything, the hard oils and the butter are completely melted now. So now what we're going to do is add in our liquid oil. And at first we're just gonna mix this in, and then we're going to do this the way we normally do in the cold process method, and that is to use the stick blender. So we're just mixing it in. Getting my stick blender ready. And this is where it becomes just like the cold process method. You're gonna mix it with your stick blender, and I'm just trying to get the oils to mix in a little something here before I start with the stick blender. So that's mixed pretty decent. Now we're gonna start with the stick blender until we get to a light trace. Okay, so we've reached a light trace, and so now we're going to add in our essential oils. And our colorant, natural colorant. All right, so we've reached a medium trace, and what we need to do now is get our soap mold. And we're just going to pour this in to the soap mold. Put our soap mold, our soap mix into the mold. That's it. We'll come back in about a day or two and see how this mold came out.